When Warren Buffett sits down to write his annual letter to Berkshire Hathaway shareholders, he does not think about the millions of investors reading it. He thinks about one person, his sister, Bertie. When Microsoft's Satya Nadella was asked what he looks for in future leaders, he gave a two-word answer that changed everything: create clarity. When you watch the most successful men in business today, you notice something peculiar. They never seem to beg, plead, or desperately convince anyone of anything. They simply ask, and somehow the world moves. The secret? They have mastered what researchers call the most underestimated skill in human psychology. But this goes far beyond simple communication. The Center for Creative Leadership found that 75% of business leaders fail not because they lack technical skills, but because they cannot influence others effectively. Meanwhile, Harvard Business Review research revealed that executives who master influence tactics earn 50% more than their peers. The difference? Elite men understand that getting what you want is not about being the loudest voice in the room. It is about being the most strategic one. Here is what the research shows. Dr. Robert Cialdini, whose work on influence has shaped Fortune 500 companies for decades, identified that successful leaders use a specific sequence of psychological triggers. They do not manipulate, they orchestrate. And the foundation of this orchestration is something so simple that most men completely overlook it: the art of asking. If you want to learn how to be elegantly powerful, transform your influence into real success, and master the strategies that elite men use every single day, subscribe to the Man of Elegance channel and leave a like on this video. Because what you are about to discover will change how people respond to you forever. Warren Buffett learned this lesson the hard way. At 19, he was terrified of public speaking, could barely hold a conversation, and lost his nerve so badly during a Dale Carnegie course that he cancelled his check payment. But something changed when he realized that his brilliant investment ideas meant nothing if he could not communicate them. Today, someone paid $19 million just to have lunch with him. The transformation. He stopped trying to impress people and started focusing on one thing: asking intelligent questions. Buffett's transformation reveals the first principle of elite influence. Specificity beats generality every single time. When he wants something, Buffett does not say, "I think this might be a good investment." He says exactly what he wants, why he wants it, when he wants it, and what the person gets in return. The result? His phone rings with opportunities instead of him chasing them. This principle extends to every elite circle. When Satya Nadella transformed Microsoft from a struggling tech giant into a cloud computing powerhouse, he did not do it through aggressive demands. He did it by asking his team two specific questions. Do you create clarity, and do you create energy? These questions, asked consistently across the organization, shifted Microsoft's entire culture. The result? A 650% stock increase during his tenure. The research backs this up completely. A study published in the Journal of Applied Psychology found that leaders who ask specific, well-framed questions get 73% more compliance than those who make vague requests. But here is where most men get it wrong. They think asking means begging. Elite men understand that asking is actually about creating value exchanges. Consider how Jeff Bezos built Amazon. When he needed investors for his online bookstore idea in the 1990s, he did not plead for money. He asked potential investors three specific questions. Will this person raise the bar for our team? Will I admire this person in 5 years? In what ways might this person be a superstar? By focusing his asks around mutual benefit and long-term value, Bezos attracted the right partners who shared his vision. Today, Amazon is worth over $1.7 trillion. The psychological principle at work here is called reciprocal value creation. When you ask for something while simultaneously offering value, the human brain processes this as a collaboration rather than a request. This triggers what neuroscientists call the cooperation response, a hardwired mechanism that makes people want to engage with you. But elite asking goes deeper than just framing requests well. It requires what I call strategic vulnerability. This might sound counterintuitive, but the most powerful men in business understand that showing calculated weakness actually increases their influence. Warren Buffett demonstrates this masterfully. In his shareholder letters, he openly admits his mistakes, discusses his failed investments, and acknowledges when he was wrong. But he does this strategically, always within the context of lessons learned and future improvements. This approach triggers trust and makes people more likely to follow his recommendations. The science explains why this works. Dr. Brené Brown's research at the University of Houston found that leaders who demonstrate appropriate vulnerability, meaning they admit mistakes while maintaining confidence in their vision, are 76% more likely to be trusted by their teams. This trust directly translates into influence. Tim Cook used this principle when he took over Apple after Steve Jobs' death. Instead of pretending he could replace Jobs, Cook openly acknowledged that he would lead differently. He asked his team to support a new vision of Apple, one that maintained innovation while adding operational excellence. By being strategically vulnerable about his different leadership style, Cook gained the support needed to transform Apple into the world's most valuable company. Here is where the strategy becomes truly sophisticated. Elite men understand that the most powerful asks are the ones that feel like invitations rather than requests. This requires mastering what researchers call consultative influence. Microsoft's Satya Nadella exemplifies this approach. When he wanted to shift Microsoft's culture from competitive internal dynamics to collaborative growth, he did not demand change. Instead, he asked teams across the company, "How can we help our customers achieve more?" This simple reframing turned a directive into a collaborative mission. Teams started asking themselves the same question, creating organic culture change that drove unprecedented business results. The Harvard Business Review published research showing that leaders who use consultative asking get 41% better results than those who use directive approaches. Why? Because when you ask people to contribute to solutions, they become psychologically invested in the outcomes. But what separates truly elite men from merely successful ones is understanding the timing and context of their asks. There is a specific sequence that maximizes influence, and it starts with what I call value stacking. Before Warren Buffett asks investors to trust him with their money, he spends years demonstrating consistent returns, sharing free wisdom in his annual letters, and building a reputation for integrity. By the time he makes an ask, people are already convinced of his value. The ask becomes a formality. This principle applies at every level. Before asking your team to work late on a project, elite leaders first demonstrate their own commitment, provide resources for success, and clearly explain how the effort benefits everyone involved. The sequence matters. Value first, relationship building second, then the strategic ask. Research from the Center for Strategic Decision-Making found that requests preceded by value demonstration have an 89% higher success rate than cold requests. This is why elite men seem to get what they want effortlessly. They have invested in the relationship infrastructure that makes their asks feel natural and mutually beneficial. The final piece of this strategy involves what I call outcome orientation. Elite men do not just ask for what they want, they ask for specific outcomes and invite collaboration in achieving them. When Elon Musk wanted to revolutionize the auto industry with Tesla, he did not ask investors to fund an electric car company. He asked them to join a mission to accelerate sustainable transport and reduce global dependence on fossil fuels. By framing his ask around a compelling outcome that benefited everyone, Musk attracted the resources needed to build Tesla into the world's most valuable automaker. This outcome orientation requires three elements: a clear vision of success, specific metrics for achievement, and defined roles for everyone involved. When you ask people to join an outcome rather than just help with a task, you tap into their intrinsic motivation for meaningful contribution. The neuroscience research shows that outcome-oriented requests activate the brain's reward prediction centers, making people more likely to engage and persist through challenges. This is why elite men's asks feel inspiring rather than burdensome. Now here is the critical distinction that separates amateurs from masters. Elite men understand that the most powerful asks are often unspoken. They create conditions where others naturally want to offer what they need. Warren Buffett demonstrates this through his annual shareholder meetings. He does not directly ask for investment. Instead, he creates an environment where his expertise, personality, and track record make investing with him feel like an obvious choice. The ask becomes implicit in the value he demonstrates. This requires mastering what psychologists call indirect influence, shaping contexts and conditions so that your desired outcomes emerge naturally. It is the difference between pushing water uphill and creating channels that guide the flow. Consider how Apple under Steve Jobs created demand for products people did not even know they wanted. Jobs did not ask customers to buy iPhones. He created experiences that made having an iPhone feel essential. The ask was embedded in the product design, marketing, and ecosystem. The sophistication of this approach lies in its sustainability. When people give you what you want because they genuinely want to give it, rather than because you convince them, the relationship stays strong and they remain motivated to continue supporting you. Here is what this means practically. Instead of asking your team to be more innovative, create systems that reward creative thinking. Instead of asking clients to trust you, consistently deliver value that makes trust inevitable. Instead of asking for respect, conduct yourself in ways that naturally command it. The research from Stanford's Graduate School of Business confirms this approach. Their study of 200 CEOs found that the most effective leaders spend 60% of their time creating conditions for success and only 40% making direct requests. They engineer environments where their desired outcomes become other people's natural choices. But there is a deeper psychological principle at work here, one that most men never grasp. Elite influence is not about getting people to do things for you. It is about helping people get what they want while achieving your own objectives. This requires genuine understanding of others' motivations, fears, and aspirations. Warren Buffett exemplifies this in his acquisition strategy. When he wants to buy a company, he does not focus on what he wants from the deal. He focuses on what the sellers want: fair treatment of employees, preservation of company culture, and continued growth. By addressing their concerns first, he creates win-win scenarios that make his acquisitions feel like partnerships rather than takeovers. This approach requires what researchers call empathetic intelligence, the ability to genuinely understand and address others' needs while pursuing your own objectives. It is not manipulation because everyone benefits. It is sophisticated collaboration. The Harvard Business School published research showing that leaders who demonstrate empathetic intelligence get 67% more cooperation than those who focus only on their own objectives. More importantly, these relationships remain strong over time, creating compound advantages in future interactions. This brings us to perhaps the most crucial element of elite asking: the follow-through. Most men focus on the request itself and forget that how you handle the response determines your future influence. When someone says yes to your ask, how you acknowledge their contribution shapes their willingness to help you again. When someone says no, how you handle rejection affects their respect for you. Elite men understand that every interaction is building or diminishing their influence capital. Satya Nadella demonstrates this principle perfectly. When team members contribute ideas during meetings, he does not just say "good point" and move on. He specifically acknowledges the value of their contribution, explains how it fits into the larger vision, and ensures they get credit for their thinking. This approach makes people eager to contribute more ideas in future conversations. The psychology here is fundamental. People need to feel valued for their contributions. When you make asks that lead to positive recognition for others, your future asks become opportunities for them to gain more recognition. You transform from someone taking their time and energy into someone providing platforms for their success. Research from the University of Pennsylvania shows that leaders who consistently acknowledge contributions get 156% more volunteer effort from their teams. This is not about being nice. It is about creating sustainable influence systems. Now let me share the advanced technique that separates true masters from everyone else. Elite men understand that their most powerful asks are actually offers in disguise. They ask people to accept value rather than asking people to give value. When Warren Buffett writes to potential acquisition targets, he does not ask them to sell their companies. He offers to provide them with permanent homes for their life's work, cultures that will respect their employees, and resources to accelerate their growth. The ask becomes an offer of value that they would be foolish to refuse. This psychological reframe is incredibly powerful. Instead of positioning yourself as the person who needs something, you position yourself as the person who has something valuable to offer. People are naturally more attracted to opportunities than to obligations. The technique requires careful analysis of what others truly value. For business leaders, this might be growth opportunities, reduced risk, or enhanced reputation. For team members, it might be skill development, career advancement, or meaningful impact. When you understand what people actually want, you can frame your asks as paths to their desired outcomes. Research from the MIT Sloan School of Management found that requests framed as opportunities get 91% higher acceptance rates than requests framed as favors or obligations. The psychology is simple. People want to move toward gain, not just avoid loss. Here is where the strategy becomes truly elegant. Masters of influence create what I call ask cascades. Sequences of small asks that naturally lead to larger commitments. Each yes makes the next yes easier, building momentum towards significant outcomes. Jeff Bezos used this principle when building Amazon's early team. He did not start by asking brilliant engineers to leave stable jobs to join a risky startup. He started by asking them to have coffee conversations about the future of commerce. Then he asked them to review his business plan. Then he asked them to consider consulting part-time. By the time he asked them to join full-time, they were already psychologically invested in the vision. This cascading approach works because of what psychologists call the commitment escalation effect. Each small commitment makes people more likely to honor larger commitments that align with their previous choices. You are not manipulating them. You are helping them discover their own genuine interest in your vision. The key is ensuring each step provides real value to the other person. If your cascade feels manipulative, it will backfire. But when each ask genuinely benefits everyone involved, the sequence feels natural and exciting. But here is the sophisticated element that most men miss completely. Elite asking requires strategic patience. The most powerful men do not rush their asks. They understand that timing determines outcomes as much as technique. Warren Buffett is famous for this patience. He will spend years building relationships with company leaders, understanding their businesses, and demonstrating his value before making acquisition offers. When he finally asks, the timing feels perfect because the relationship foundation is solid. This patience extends to market timing, emotional readiness, and competitive positioning. Elite men ask for what they want when conditions are optimal for success, not just when they want it most. Research from the Journal of Behavioral Decision-Making shows that well-timed asks have success rates 340% higher than poorly timed ones. The difference between success and failure is often simply waiting for the right moment. This requires developing what I call influence intuition, the ability to sense when people are most receptive to your requests. It involves reading emotional states, understanding external pressures, and recognizing windows of opportunity. Let me give you the ultimate framework that ties everything together. Elite men follow what I call the power sequence. Position yourself as valuable before making any ask. Warren Buffett spent decades building his reputation before anyone sought his advice. Opportunity frame. Present your ask as an opportunity for mutual benefit, not a favor you need. Win-win structure. Ensure everyone benefits from saying yes to your request. Emotional intelligence. Read the timing, mood, and context before making your ask. Relationship maintenance. Handle responses in ways that strengthen future influence. This framework works at every level, from asking your team to work late to negotiating billion-dollar deals. The principles scale because they are based on fundamental human psychology rather than specific tactics. The research confirms this approach. A study tracking 500 executives over 5 years found that those who consistently followed systematic influence frameworks achieved their objectives 78% more often than those who relied on intuition alone. Here is what separates the true masters. They understand that their personal brand is their most valuable influence asset. Every interaction, every ask, every response contributes to how people perceive your competence, integrity, and value. Tim Cook exemplifies this principle. His reputation for operational excellence and ethical leadership means that when he asks Apple's supply chain partners to meet environmental standards, they comply not just because Apple is a major customer, but because Cook's personal brand makes the request feel important and aligned with broader values. Your influence compounds over time when people trust your judgment, respect your intentions, and value your association. This means every ask must align with the personal brand you want to build. The Stanford Graduate School of Business published research showing that leaders with strong personal brands get 234% more positive responses to their requests than those with weak or unclear brands. Your reputation precedes every ask you make. Now here is the critical mistake that destroys influence faster than anything else: asking for things that benefit only you. Elite men understand that sustainable influence requires genuine concern for others' success. When Satya Nadella asks Microsoft employees to embrace new technologies, he frames these requests around how the changes will enhance their careers, expand their skills, and increase their market value. His asks help people become more successful, not just help Microsoft achieve its objectives. This principle requires shifting from transactional thinking to relationship thinking. Instead of "what do I need?" the question becomes, how can getting what I need also help others get what they want? Research from the Kellogg School of Management found that leaders who consistently frame requests around mutual benefit maintain higher influence ratings over time, while those who focus primarily on their own needs see their influence decline by an average of 23% annually. The sophistication here lies in identifying genuine win-win scenarios rather than just making requests sound like they benefit others. People can sense authentic mutual benefit versus manipulative framing. Let me share one final advanced technique that only the most sophisticated operators understand. Elite men create what I call influence ecosystems, networks of relationships where their success enables others' success, creating natural motivation for continued support. Warren Buffett has built an ecosystem where Berkshire Hathaway's success directly benefits thousands of employees, shareholders, and business partners. When he asks for patience during market downturns or support for long-term strategies, everyone in his ecosystem has genuine reasons to comply because his success drives their success. This ecosystem approach means you are not constantly making individual asks. Instead, you create systems where supporting you becomes the natural choice for everyone involved. Building influence ecosystems requires thinking beyond individual transactions to comprehensive value networks. You become the central node that connects and benefits multiple parties, making your success essential to others' success. Harvard Business Review research shows that leaders who build influence ecosystems spend 43% less time on direct persuasion because their network naturally supports their objectives. The system does the influencing for them. Here is what this means for your daily interactions. Every conversation is an opportunity to strengthen your influence ecosystem. Every favor you grant, every connection you make, every problem you solve builds the network that will support your future asks. The most elegant aspect of this strategy is its invisibility. When done correctly, your influence ecosystem operates so smoothly that people do not realize they are being influenced. They simply want to support you because supporting you supports their own objectives. This brings us to the ultimate truth about elite influence. It is not about getting people to do things they do not want to do. It is about creating conditions where what you want aligns with what they want. This requires genuine care for others' success, strategic thinking about mutual benefit, and patience to build sustainable relationships. The men who master this approach do not need to convince anyone of anything. They create value, build relationships, frame opportunities, and ask strategically. The result? A life where doors open naturally, people seek to help them, and their objectives align with others' interests. Let me leave you with Warren Buffett's most profound insight about influence. You only have to do a very few things right in your life, so long as you do not do too many things wrong. The same applies to asking. Master the fundamentals, avoid the major mistakes, and build your influence systematically over time. Remember, fashion is not luxury. It is power. The way you carry yourself, communicate your value, and structure your relationships determines how the world responds to your requests. When you combine impeccable style with sophisticated influence strategies, you become the man others naturally want to support. The research proves it. The examples demonstrate it. The framework works. Now the question becomes, will you apply these principles to transform your own influence and success? Subscribe to the Man of Elegance channel if you want to master the strategies that turn ordinary men into forces of nature. Leave a like if this video opened your eyes to possibilities you had not considered. And if you are serious about accelerating your transformation, consider becoming a member of our exclusive club, starting at just $4.99 per month. Click the membership button to join men who are serious about building real power through elegant influence. Here is what you learned today. Elite men do not beg, plead, or desperately convince. They position themselves as valuable, frame their asks as opportunities, ensure mutual benefit, read timing perfectly, and build influence ecosystems that make supporting them feel natural and beneficial. The most powerful ask is not an ask at all. It is an invitation to mutual success that people cannot refuse. If you enjoyed learning these strategies, comment silent power below to let me know this resonated with you. Subscribe to the channel and leave a like if you want to join the ranks of elegantly powerful men who understand that true influence is about creating value, not demanding compliance. The world responds to value. Master the art of elite asking and watch how quickly doors begin to open.